Did you know that Minecraft Bedrock, unlike any of the other versions, wanted to have a camera? Or that there was an item that spawned a mini-nether in your world? Here are 29 things that are only in Minecraft's Bedrock Edition. One of the most nostalgic items exclusive to Minecraft Bedrock is certainly the nether reactor core. Back when phones were much weaker than computers, players would have to use this item to spawn a temporary box of netherrack, allowing them to get netherrack without having to render a whole new world. Speaking of nostalgia, when Bedrock was initially released, there were a few hidden items like cyan flour and a working camera. Though these items have since been removed, they definitely remain a fun part of Bedrock's history. If you stare at the sun for some time, your vision becomes limited and everything becomes darker. On the topic of darkness, do you sometimes look at your game and realize it's kind of dull and dark? Well, if you are on Bedrock, you can use ray tracing to enhance your game and make it look beautiful. Be careful though, your PC might turn into a campfire. Did you know that you can actually relight a campfire with your own body if you're on fire? Alternatively, say you have a random fire aspect booking laying around in your home. You can use it to relight a campfire. This also works for other things, such as lighting a TNT or relighting a candle. If you're ever hungry and in a bad mood, eating a cake in Bedrock will cause your player to make a funny burping sound effect, whilst also regenerating your hunger. If you want to go to fishing, bring a wolf. This is because in Bedrock version of the game, they like to catch fish for you, making them a valuable friend to bring along. Just make sure to reward them for their hard work. If you ever come across a skeleton horse, you don't even need a saddle in this edition to ride it, making it a very good method of transport, especially in the early game when you don't have an elytra. On the topic of skeletons, if you find yourself in a duel with a skeleton in the water, they will not use their bow, but instead, they will try and melee attack you. And the closer you get to a skeleton, the faster it will attack you. Speaking of water, if you're trying to travel to a long distance and decide that you need a boat, you might find yourself not being able to craft it. Well, this is because you need to use a shovel in the recipe, which honestly kind of makes sense if you look at the boat. While traveling with your boat, you might spot a shipwreck. If this shipwreck is made of acacia and spruce wood, consider yourself lucky, as this is only found in Bedrock Edition of Minecraft. If, within the shipwreck, you find a buried treasure map, there is a chance for that treasure to be in the Stony Shore biome. What makes this so special is that the buried treasure in this biome can be found up to y equals 90, which is impossible in other versions of Minecraft. If you're just starting out a new world in Bedrock, you might find these fallen trees, which is a simple touch, and yet the Java developers have not added it in over 2 decades of the Java version being out. And whilst we're in the topic of trees, another simple yet cool attention to detail is the fact that whenever it snows, the leaves get a whole new texture of being displayed as a snowy leaf, as opposed to Java where snow just lays on the leaves. Whenever you find a village, you should check all the villagers' traits, because you can see what they're going to offer when you level them up. This can be very useful, because instead of having to gamble for villagers to get good traits, you can make smart decisions to get what you want without wasting resources. And if a witch ever finds itself in a village, for no reason, they'll start to attack the iron golem. Unlike in Java, witches attack pretty much everything they see in this edition. Why? Who knows? In swamp huts, there is a chance for the cauldron inside to be filled with poison. But that's not the only potion you can have in a cauldron. As in Bedrock, you can have many different types of potions inside of cauldrons. This opens up a lot of possibilities for potion storage in your base. What would you use this for? As well as being able to store different potions in the cauldron, you can also have dyed water, allowing you to customize your builds with all types of colors. And whilst we're on the topic of customization, in this edition, shulkers can be dyed to a whole variety of colors, meaning you can have different colors based on what the shulker box contains. In Bedrock, the offhand only lets you use certain items. This limitation can make the offhand slot feel practically useless compared to the Java edition, where everything can be held in the offhand. And something that most will see as even more useless is that you can bone meal sugarcane. It will grow to a height of 3 sugarcanes. I'm not sure why you would do this, unless you're in desperate need of a sugarcane, but whatever floats your boat. And coming back to boats, if you are traveling the ocean again, you might come across some animals, like the squid, glow squid, and dolphins, for an unknown reason. In this version, these animals have baby variants, but I'm not complaining. They look cute. Speaking of animals, foxes in Bedrock, for some weird reason, have 2 times the amount of HP that they do in Java. Maybe the developers felt bad for how much abuse the foxes get. Continuing with animals, bees take damage to rose bushes. So if you're making a bee farm, make sure there are no rose bushes nearby, or your bees will randomly go missing. Did you know that you can place buttons on pistons and activate the piston without breaking the button? Well, in Bedrock Edition, pistons work weirdly in a way where you can do stuff like this. On top of that, you can also use the pistons to move chests, furnaces, and other inventories, which is very cool. But it definitely allows for some interesting duplication glitches. Bedrock Edition can access exclusive blocks and items from the Education Edition, such as the Element Constructor, Compound Creator, and many more. We're actually working on a video about Education Edition, so subscribe with notifications on to be notified when it's uploaded. In both these editions, when you jump around, or when you punch the air, or even throw items, they all have their own unique sounds. But if you look at the Java edition, none of these have sound effects. For what reason? I don't know. What do you guys think? A feature that is so small, most people wouldn't even realize the fact that the totems of Undying aren't the same. In Bedrock, the effects last for a whole 5 seconds, an incredible difference. Another small but a funny feature is that you cannot place a torch over water. In Java edition, if you place a torch where water is, the torch will replace it, making the source disappear. Unlike in this edition, where you cannot even place the torch, because somehow it blocks you from doing it. Something that I forgot to mention about swamp hots is that cats can only spawn in one texture. They're black cats, which are usually associated with witches. Also, it is so rare for them to spawn that people even say that getting one in survival is way more difficult than fighting the Ender Dragon. Whilst we're talking about bosses, in this version, the Wither has a slightly different mechanic. When it reaches half health, it creates a large explosion that affects nearby blocks and entities. This explosion is more destructive than the one in Java edition. As many of you already know, you can run and bridge like this, allowing you to cover long distances really quick. This can be useful if you are in the Nether and the next chunk of land is far away. Speaking of the Nether, did you know that even if you're able to get on top of the roof, you are unable to place blocks, unlike in the Java edition? And if you watched our last video, you would know that you can make an OP XP farm on top of the Nether. So, if you are interested in that, and 27 other things that will completely change your Minecraft Java experience, click on the screen now.